Hi, my name is Amanda. I received a living kidney donation from my friend Megan 5 years ago and my friend Kristen 4 years ago. My kidney failure began when I was 22 years old. I was finishing my final semester in college, and at first that meant rearranging my entire schedule to make sure I could attend hemodialysis. So I had to arrange my classes so that I could go to hemo on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. It also meant completely changing my diet, so that was also hard at school. And then I was no longer able to shower at school or even shower normally because I had a permacath in. I was told by my doctor that yes, we needed to go on and get a transplant. I was actually told that I needed a kidney transplant prior to me going into kidney failure. And I learned that about 3 weeks to a month before my kidneys actually failed. Living without a working kidney meant that I felt sick all the time. I never felt like eating. I lost a ton of weight. I had completely severe metabolic acidosis and anemia to the point where it was hard to even walk and I was out of breath. Um, it meant that I had to focus completely on just living and surviving and not really enjoying my life. And it meant rearranging my entire schedule to just take care of myself. The first time I had a dialysis treatment, it was hemodialysis, and I was absolutely terrified. No one had ever told me really what dialysis was and what it did and how it worked and how it was supposed to help me. I always thought that it was kind of something that you did before you died, so I thought I was reaching the end of my life. Like I said, no one had educated me at all. Um, I was hospitalized during this, so I did inpatient hemodialysis, and I was crying and kind of shrieking before I went on the machine. My family's life changed in a lot of ways. I was really sick during hemodialysis, so I was always driven there and driven back, and I always had a family member stay there with me. My hemodialysis sessions were long. They were 3.5 hours, and I was always the last in my pod to get connected. So my family was there about 4.5 hours. They came to all of my doctor's visits so that I wasn't alone, and they went to all my pre-transplant visits, and before I got a car, they would take me back to school. I went to college nearby, so they went through a lot of changes as well. When my doctor told me that a living donor kidney transplant was my best option, I felt hopeful. I didn't know what transplantation really meant before I was told that I needed one, and I also was really scared that my life was going to be the way I lived on dialysis forever, and I was really sick. So this gave me a lot of hope. I found it easy to talk to my friends about living kidney donation because I am an advocate in the kidney space, and I'm always talking about how I feel and how others feel on it. I just really wanted people to know what that experience was like. I was scared that transplantation meant that my life was going to be forever changed in a bad way because I didn't know what it meant. But once I learned that transplantation meant that I could live the life that I always dreamed of, I was scared that my FSGS could come back. When Megan first told me that she was going to donate me her kidney, I can't even describe it. She told me really soon after I found out I needed a transplant. Suddenly I had hope, and it felt like my dreams might be able to come true one day. And then when Kristen told me that she was going to donate her kidney to me, I felt the same way, especially after what happened with my first transplant. I felt that I had another chance at life again. I had so many questions about how this would impact Megan and Kristen's lives, such as how their recovery would be and how much time they would need to take off of work, and just overall wondering how their life would change, knowing that they were going to do this. I tried not to get my hopes up, but honestly, I never did because of the way Megan and Kristen approached me. It's just something that I knew in my heart, and I could see through their actions and just the way they lived their lives that I knew that they were serious and we were also friends. We all learned together about the procedure, and I think the most surprising thing that we learned is that kidney transplantation is really common and that the recipient keeps all three of their kidneys usually. On the day of mine and Megan's transplant, I actually didn't get to see Megan beforehand. I was in a room with my family, waiting to be taken in. And then on the day of mine and Kristen's transplant, I saw her and her family really early in the morning, and we exchanged hugs, and we were all so excited, and we couldn't believe that day had come. In total, I'm actually not sure how long mine and Megan's transplant was. I believe she was in the hospital for about 3 days. Mine and Kristen's transplant was a bit longer. I was told by my family I was in the OR about 8 hours. And I also had a PD catheter, which they removed during that same surgery, so it took a bit longer. Mine and Kristen's transplant took place on a Wednesday, and I was discharged on, I believe, a Monday or Tuesday, and Kristen was discharged on Friday. It took about a week before I felt like myself again after mine and Kristen's transplant. I could once eat again the way I wanted to. My family actually brought me pizza in the hospital, and I swear I got tears in my eyes because I didn't know that was how good pizza tasted because dialysis altered my taste buds so much. I was not in a lot of pain, and I actually moved out of my parents' house 3 weeks after my surgery, and then shortly after, I got a dog. A life without dialysis meant that I could live. Unfortunately, on hemo and PD, I didn't do so well on them, and it made me a lot sicker than I already was, and I had a couple close calls with death. So, not being on dialysis meant that I could live, and living my life meant that I could finally start my career as a public health professional, move out of my parents' house, get a dog, just do whatever I wanted and not have to worry about coming home and starting my dialysis machine. I did PD for 12 hours on a cycler, and I did 1 to 2 manual exchanges a day, which meant that I was spending probably 16 hours a day doing dialysis related activities. So it just meant that I was free. It has now been 4 years since I received a kidney from Kristen, and I feel amazing. I have 100% kidney function, and my FSGS never came back. I was able to start my career as a public health professional, so I do research in clinical quality in healthcare. I also bought a condo. I have my dog. Her name is Epona, and she's a miniature dachshund. I've also gone on a lot of vacations, and I actually work out quite often. I dance, which is something that I could have never even dreamed about doing when I was on dialysis. The relationship I have with Kristen and Megan today is that we're still friends. We still talk often, we still get together, and I was actually a bridesmaid in Kristen's wedding this year. My favorite memory of this entire journey was the day of mine and Kristen's transplant. My whole family was there, so my mom, dad, brother, and sister, Kristen's entire family, so her mom, her dad, her sister, and her boyfriend, who is now her husband, and Megan's family was there, so her mom, her dad, and both of her sisters, and my aunts and uncles were there, and we were all so happy, and we just knew this was going to work out. I wanted to especially thank Megan because without her generosity, I feel like I wouldn't truly know what it meant to be a loving, kind, altruistic person. Going through the transplant process with her truly taught me what it meant to love, and it gave me so much hope, and I will always carry that with me for the rest of my life. And then I want to especially thank Kristen because without her generosity, it's likely that I might not even be here. And with her kidney, I've been able to do so many things and live the life I've always wanted to live, which still at times seems like a dream. My advice to others who need a kidney is to never lose hope. Sometimes hope was the only thing that I had, and I really hung on to that, and it worked out. I also encourage everyone to try not to let dialysis get in the way of things. And I know that's easier said than done, and I've been there. And it's hard because dialysis takes over your entire life. But to try to enjoy the little things and try to get out and do what you can because life still doesn't stop.